So I've been thinking about reading. And if you hear any clicking or anything like that noise, it's because I'm making egg bites right now as I'm thinking about reading. I'm thinking about reading in the context of how much it has changed in the past year, but even relating back to my childhood, how much reading has just changed. Reading has become something that is not for the fun of looking at words and understanding a story, but is about consuming and is about having the new shiny thing and the new version of the same book over and over and over again. So that's where we're going to start our conversation today. Why has reading become so capitalistic? And what is capitalistic about reading? Recently, I got a book that was a new book, and I normally don't get a lot of new books, but that's all I did. It was The House of Saphir by Marissa Mayer. I don't know how to say her last name, but she's my favorite author of all time. She's what's really got me into reading physical books again when I was a teenager. I love the Lunar Chronicles. It is like near and dear to my heart. I could go on and on and on about the Lunar Chronicles, but that's not what we're talking about. The House of Saphir, when I looked at like the actual contents of, you look at all that stuff like, don't, rewrite this book, copyrighted, this is produced by like this big publishing house, all of that stuff. And it gives you like the ISBN number. As an aspiring author, I want to look at that stuff so that I read a story and then I think, okay, this is what they've categorized it. In this category, it's YA. They say it's fiction. They say it's a little bit of, mystery and paranormal, like that kind of thing. Like I want to see what they categorize the book as. So when I go and I write a book and I write a story, then I know what to do for myself. I was looking and this book had 4 different special editions. And in the past year alone, special editions have gone wild. I have never seen a special edition of any other type of book. My egg bites are almost done. Now, I don't like Harry Potter because of J.K. Rowling. We don't like TERFs here, okay? But I was in Books A Million the other day, and I was looking at all of these YA books and all of these special edition ones that they had on this table right in the center of the aisle. And they had a special edition of Harry Potter. Mind you, it was the original covers that a lot of people my age had as kids. So it was that cover, and it was paperback, but it had sprayed edges. What? Harry Potter has been out for 20 years. Harry Potter franchise is huge, as we know. It is wild to me that a book like that is putting out a limited edition sprayed edges because of the popularity of this kind of book. And it's not just sprayed edges either. My egg bites are done. 1 second. But it's not just sprayed edges either. It's gilded edges. I saw in Books A Million that they had a new edition of Twilight out. When you shift the pages on the side, it looks gold when you're just looking at it, but when you shift it from left to right, you can see character art of Bella and Edward on it. That is super cool, but again, unnecessary for the actual contents of the story. I don't need to buy 10 different versions of the same book, and maybe you like the book, and that's totally okay. I'm not trying to yuck anybody's yum, you know what I mean? The book that I've seen this done the most to is Fourth Wing. This book has been super popular, and I have seen so many editions of this. It just really feeds into the fact that reading is no longer about the book and the contents itself. It's about consuming and having a really good looking shelf. And a lot of people equate having a really good looking shelf to you being a better reader, whatever that means. A lot of people equate being a better reader to reading a wide variety of books from many different authors and many different genres, or just reading a lot of books in general. And so that means that you need to consume so many more books. And a lot of this is about how your shelf looks. So you need to consume physical books. When I tell you, I don't even have a shelf for my books. My books are currently sitting in totes right now because of X, Y, and Z going on in my life. The bookshelf does not matter. And when you are buying books to buy books or buying books to fill up this shelf because you need it to look a certain way, then your physical TBR list becomes humongous. I've seen some people online, you know, they have a regular like 10, maybe 20, then it gets to 50 and 100, 200, and even 500 physical copies of books that are in the to be read. That is insane to me. I don't even think I have 500 books. But again, if you have 500 books, good for you. I'm really happy for you. I hope that you have read all of them and will read all of them one day. But this feeds into this capitalistic and consumeristic society standard that we need to constantly consume books, that we need to constantly just consume in general to keep up with the trends, to keep up with people, to make our lives look great for social media. Celebrities are notorious for saying that money does not buy happiness, and this definitely equates to books. Books do not buy happiness. Looks on the internet does not buy happiness. Just because I look great in a video doesn't mean I'm super happy that day. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff just doesn't coincide like we would think it would or like we would like it to. Then this dissatisfaction leads to you just having a dissatisfaction with reading in general. Some people, like me, get really, really overwhelmed when they have too much stuff, whatever that stuff may be, right? So if you have, say, a physical TBR list of, let's just give it a modest 100 books, you can feel overwhelmed with even picking one book to read, even just once a month. I have a TBR list that I have just like a stack of books that I've never read, and every time I look at that stack of books, even though it is probably 10 to 15 books, granted, I get overwhelmed just by looking at it and having to make a choice. It's like going onto Netflix and seeing 5 different rows filled with 10 movies or shows each and just getting decision fatigue. And then that causes me to not choose anything or continue to just doom scroll on my phone because that feels more of like a decision because someone else or an algorithm is making it for me, and then I'm not doing these things that I actually want to do, like read a book. And I'm not enjoying the books because the physical amount of them becomes too much for me to handle. There's been a trend recently that people don't even actually read anything other than dialogue. I did this a lot when I was a kid. I would get so excited about books, and I specifically remember doing this with the Spiderwick Chronicles. I loved those books to death, and all I wanted to do was read them as fast as I could. So I would read dialogue, and then by the end of the chapter, I'd be like, I don't even know what happened. If I had to give a summary, which most of the times I was reading these books for school and I would have to take tests on them, I wouldn't be able to take the test because I could not tell you what happened in the book because the dialogue did not give enough. Or there would be so much space between dialogue. The next time I read dialogue, I was like, wait, what are they talking about now? What is happening? So I'd have to go back and reread whole chapters in order for me to actually understand the story. But some people apparently don't care about that. They don't care about actually really consuming the story. They're just consuming the book to consume the book to say that they read it. And just skimming a book is truly not helping anybody. You don't get the message that the author intended if there's something hidden in there. The story does not stick with you at all. If you can't write like a simple paragraph about a book, did you really even read the book? Now that's just my personal opinion. There are some books that obviously years ago, I have a really bad memory. I can't tell you what the story was, but I can tell you that it impacted me. But I'm saying books that you read yesterday, if you can't write a paragraph on just a little bit of something other than what happened in the dialogue, did you really pick up what happened in the story? And then publishers know that this is happening because it's huge on social media. It's big on Book Talk. People are talking about it on BookTube. You know, people are having a conversation about it. And so publishers see that and then make books dumbed down. So they make books repeat things over and over and over again, or make chapters super short and have a really small scene in them because people cannot comprehend what is really going on, or have so much dialogue in a book that it really just doesn't make sense for the actual flow of the book. And this leads me into literacy rates are down. This has been said for many years since the pandemic. Literacy rates in kids are just flat down. Some kids aren't even able to read in 6th grade. And this can cause people, and kids especially, because we start things at a young age and then we continue on with them. I mean, I started, like I said, reading the Spiderwick Chronicles when I was a kid. When I was a teen, I progressed to reading to like Wattpad and AO3 because I couldn't get my hands on physical books, or I just didn't find their stories interesting. And to be honest, I just wanted to read spice as a teenager, and I wanted to read stuff about fanfics because it was super big on Tumblr in 2014. So that's what I wanted to read, so I went and found it online. But then it causes kids to not read at all. If they have low literacy rates, then everything that they want to read, they can't comprehend, so they don't even start to begin with. It's really discouraging. And it also feeds into this male loneliness epidemic that has been going on, which seems like a totally separate topic from this, but it is, but it relates. Men are really afraid to express themselves, and that means that they don't even want to be seen reading. But reading causes empathy. When you read a story about somebody else, like I did this year, I Am Malala, I've heard about it a lot, I really wanted to read it, and it gave me empathy for the people in Pakistan and Afghanistan. Like, it gave me empathy in a worldview that I didn't have before even just reading her story, right? So it gave me empathy. So when men aren't reading because of this loneliness epidemic, then they don't have this empathy. And then they become sad and they become angry. And then they start blaming the people who do read books, women, and feel like, I don't want to be like a woman. I don't want to read, because that's a lot of what is on social media. Women are the people who are out there who, like me right now, talking about reading. I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. It's not a bad thing. But I'm just saying that then that man who is, having this loneliness epidemic or feeling these feelings and can't empathize with others, and they have children, it then leads down to them and them not reading either. I mean, I grew up in a household where my older brother read, but my parents didn't. But it was the fact that my older brother read and I admired him and looked up to him, that's the reason why I started reading. And he would tell me about all of these fantastic stories. I remember as a kid, he used to read The Magic Tree House, and he would tell me about the books, and I wanted to read them so bad, but a lot of them are like grow with you books. And so I couldn't read them until I got to a certain age, or I got to a certain reading level that my brother was already at, and so it encouraged me to read. But if there aren't people in your household and there aren't people just around you that you see reading, then you don't want to read, and then the literacy rates stay down. Again, this is just the tip of the iceberg about the male loneliness epidemic, and it's just one little bit of the iceberg that touches this topic. It is definitely not the full scale scope of the male loneliness epidemic, but it does relate. So when women are the main readers, and everybody does this, not just women, but as a woman, I know that we compare. When I was a teenager, I would go on social media, I would follow people from my school so I could look at their Instagram and I could judge how good their photo quality was, judge their clothing, judge who they were hanging out with in the photo, and judge how jealous I truly was of what their social media life looked like. And then we'd go to school and I'd see this person, and then I wouldn't feel any of that because this was the real person, and that was the person that they presented themselves to be on social media. And so when we compare and we don't have that in-person interaction with somebody that actually humanizes that person, then we tend to be really judgmental of a person. And when we're constantly comparing on social media, but we're not getting the nitty-gritty of what we want, we go to the places that has the information that we want. We go to these reading tracking apps. And that's where people really dig into others. They can see what you're reading, how fast you're reading, and your reviews on books and your opinions on them if you have actually put written reviews down. And this just causes people to be thoroughly discouraged from reading. They can have self-esteem issues because they know that people are going to be seeing this and judging them on this. This judgment from people can make you feel like you're behind. Earlier this year, because of how many books that I listened to audiobook-wise last year, I put my reading goal this year at 24. By the time February hit, I ended up reading 5 books in February alone because I felt so behind on that goal, because I was. And I got so overwhelmed that I did not pick up a book until July. In July, I was like, what is the point of me stressing out over something that's supposed to be fun let me change my reading goal to 12 books. And look at that, I'm only 1 book behind. Great. And am I even behind to begin with? Because I've set this arbitrary goal for myself. And I know personally that nobody is going to go look at my tracking app to go and see, oh, you haven't read your 24 books this year and you changed your reading goal, because no one cares. And the people that do care because they have nothing else to do and they're jealous of you. That is really, really like what I've in my life been able to boil a lot of things down to. When people bring up things like that in front of you, it's because they're jealous of it. And people can be jealous and you don't have to listen to it, truly. You can just move on. But it can be really hard on the internet when people are constantly, talking at you and never talking with you. You're not a part of the conversation that is about you. And this can just be one of the big things about reading. It's like you want to know how many books you're reading a year or what your progress is through a book, right? But you don't want anybody to know that you're reading. But you want people to know that you're reading, but you don't want anybody to know what you're reading. And so it becomes this thing of, ooh, it's another one of those contention points that just makes you not read at all. So with all of this being said, I devised a plan this year to make reading fun again. And all of this, again, is based off of things that I have personally done. So take this with a grain of salt. Just because it worked for me doesn't mean that it'll work for you or your friend or your mom or your coworker. It doesn't mean that it'll work at all. It's just that's what's worked for me, because I was in a very bad reading slump because of this pressure that I put on myself. And when I changed the pressure, it became better. First thing that I did was listen to audiobooks through a library app. Mine is Libby. When you get on this app, you can check out books. You can either check out physical books or you check out audiobooks. Now, obviously, you can see on the audiobook, it's 12 hours, it's 14 hours, it's 8 hours, right? And so you can go through books a lot faster. And this also is really helpful when you've heard things about a book, but you don't really know if it's going to be any good. I remember listening to audiobooks, specifically of a book called Educated and The Killer of the Flower Moon. I ended up getting both of those books in physical copies because I loved them so much. And added benefit, you're not feeding into consumerism or capitalism. So you're not spending your hard-earned money on all these books and ending up not liking them. You can check a book out and then you can return it when you don't like it anymore, and you can DNF a book so quick and there's no repercussions of it because it's a library book. You don't own it, you just return it. But this also can really dictate whether or not you actually want to get a physical copy of that book. It can really help you decide where and when to spend your money. The biggest thing that I never hear anybody talk about is little libraries. Little libraries are so much fun. You can go to little libraries and you can get a free book. A free book. Now, if you really like blind boxes and blind bags, that's what a little library is. You go there and you can pull a wonderful, mystical, great book. The other day, I got The Hate You Give. Oh, I love that movie so much and I've been wanting to read the book, and now I have a copy of it, right? And so then you can also offload all of these books that you have read but you don't want to keep, or books that you don't like anymore. Like I gave Wicked because I just didn't like the book and I ended up DNFing it. I gave My Year of Rest and Relaxation because the book made me very sad. And then I also gave The Virgin Suicides because it's just not a book that I really want to read right now or ever. So I ended up giving those to a free little library in case somebody else wants to actually read them. And then in return, I got a book myself. And you can go to little libraries everywhere. They have a database online, and those are the official ones. Obviously, there are ones that people have made that are not officially little libraries, but they still function the same. They're just not on this database. And you can go to these places and get a free book. You literally do not have to give books. Most of these little libraries are overflowing with books. So a lot of the time you taking books from them is way better than you giving books to them. Obviously, some of them that are in like playgrounds are filled with children's books. So a reader like me who doesn't want to really, you know, read middle grade or picture books is not going to find anything there for me, for myself, right? But when I go to a neighborhood that is filled with typically older people, you're going to find a lot more books that you've never read before, that you've maybe heard of, or just books that you know, are now being introduced to. Little libraries can cause you to read books that you would have never read before. In My Hands, Memory of a Holocaust Rescuer by Irene Gut Opdijk, hope I'm saying that right. This would have been a book I never would have picked up, just for the pure fact that I have a list of books that I really want to read, and I would have bought those at a bookstore first before this. But this was a fantastic read, really opened my eyes to like another view of how the Holocaust went for somebody who was helping Jewish people in order to escape and just help them literally live. And of a similar vein, one of the very first books that I ever got from a little library was The Mermaid Chair. Now, this book is never something that I would have picked out for myself. Like a woman going to an island to help her mom because she just cut off her finger, and really loving it because her marriage is crashing, and then ending up, spoiler, cheating on her husband. This would have never been a story that I would have picked up and wanted to read for myself, but because of a little library, I did read it and I did actually enjoy it. Now, granted, it wasn't my favorite read of the year, but it did open my eyes to make me empathize with somebody that was going through a different situation than I ever have. See? Empathy is good. Empathy is good. Little libraries are so great, and I do not understand why people don't talk about them like at all. Like, I see these tip videos about how making reading better, and they never talk about little libraries. Like, truly, my big thing is like spending money on books and then not liking it and not finishing it, and then having a huge physical like TBR list. I don't have to have any of that now because I can go to a free little library and it's great. Another thing that I've been doing this year has been reading books that I've been interested in. Now, I have a physical copy of Pachinko, but I don't have it with me because I recommended it to a friend and I've given them my copy to read. But Pachinko. I loved Pachinko. I had heard about it for years. It's on all of these, you know, bestseller lists and all these, part of all of these like fancy book clubs and all of that. But I had really wanted to read this book for years, and finally for my birthday this year, I bought myself a copy, and guess what? I loved it. 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 Another book that I read this year was one that I know a movie was made about it. And when I know a movie is made about a book, I like to read the book first, just so I can get the original source material. That's why I was trying to read Wicked earlier this year and had to DNF the book because I was like, I don't like this. But I read The Silence of the Lambs, and I've had this copy for years, and again, it's just been sitting on my physical TBR list. And I read this book, and there were parts in it that I didn't really think were necessary, like having the, if you never read, this is a spoiler, having the killer be trans. I didn't really think that that added a lot to the story, and it just added transphobia that was unnecessary, and it really made me stop because it was truly at like the middle of the book, the exact halfway point, and I was like, damn, I was liking this so much. And then you went and spoiled it all by saying something stupid like transphobia. I ended up finishing the book because I liked the characters so much, and I was hoping that the transphobia was not transphobia, but it was. And I just don't think that it was a good, I just don't think that it was a necessary representation. It was demonizing trans people, which is unnecessary. And I haven't seen the movie yet, but I heard in the movie, it's not even in the movie. And it's like, yeah, because it was unnecessary. It just feels like demonizing a group of people for no reason other than hate. And I hate that because I like this book so much. I truly did. Like, it's opened my eyes to want to read more in this genre, but not more from this author because I don't like transphobia. And then another book that I was really interested in that I heard about for years was I Am Malala. I happened to be at a thrift store one day and found this perfect condition hardback cover of this book. Like, I'm telling you, like, this book is white, okay? This book is white. It has like no oil stains from hands. It has not even a scratch or anything. Any wear and tear is from me, right? The jacket cover is beautiful still. Like, this book is in pristine condition. The only thing is that the thrift store did that. But you know what I mean? Like, this is pristine condition. That was a hair stuck to it. That's where the little tag was. Anyways, I happened to walk in and find this, and I was like, oh, it's been ordained. Okay, I have to buy this book. And guess what? I loved this book. I don't read memoirs. I have never. Okay, I take that back. I listened to Britney Spears' memoir, and I also listened to Jeanette McCurdy's memoir. But that was last year. But I don't typically gravitate towards memoirs at all. But reading this book gave me a lot of empathy towards the Middle East, which here in the United States, we do not give a lot of empathy towards. And it just opened my eyes to their culture. And I know it is oppressive, but hearing a firsthand account from somebody that lived through it and literally got shot in the face for it, it just really opens your eyes. And I love this book so much, and it impacted me so much that I pre-ordered her new book, Finding My Way, and I read this very, very quickly, and I loved it. I remember that I was almost done with this book, and it was in the middle of the night, and I was like, it's fine, it won't take me that long. I stayed up until like 3 a.m. reading this book because I loved it so much. Like, come on, girl, give me the full story. Thank you very much. This book is a lot more uplifting. It is a lot more about her life in college and like the struggles that she had to go through acclimating to a new culture and climate, but this was still a good read as well. And now I have the 2 hardbacks, yay. But I wouldn't have bought this book or even pre-ordered it if I didn't like this one in the first place. And going off of that point, Malala was highly reviewed, but that does not mean that the reviews lead you anywhere or that you're gonna like a book. Like I said earlier, I gave my year of rest and relaxation to a little library. I gave that book to a little library because it made me depressed. It made me think about just very bad things. And I had to DNF the book, and that book was raved about. I heard about it all the time. Granted, it might not have been for the best reasons, but I heard about it all the time. It was all over Pinterest, all over social media. I couldn't get away from it. And then when I finally got it, I wanted to get away from it because I couldn't do it. And on the flip side of that, the book Yellowface by R.F. Kuang was raved about, and I loved that book. I listened to an audiobook. I have yet to have a physical copy of it. I just haven't seen it in stores, and I've had other books that have been more of a priority to buy. But it is definitely on my to-buy list because it was so good. But take reviews with a grain of salt. And on that note, reviews are for readers. Like I said in the beginning, I'm an aspiring author. I'm going to be releasing my debut novel, Shadows, in March of 2026. But that does not mean I'm going to be reading reviews, because I read reviews now in order to see if I'm going to like a book, in order to see if the pacing is going to be good or if it's going to have themes that, I'm going to like. I wish I would have read reviews for this because I don't even think I would have picked it up. And granted, it was a good book. It had themes in it that I would have rather have just skipped the book altogether. And then my last tip is to read. I know that seems funny, but read for fun. Read books for fun. Read manga for fun. Now, if you know me in real life or in any capacity or have seen me on social media at all, this is not a surprise that I've been rereading Sailor Moon. This is like my favorite piece of media of all time. All time. Any book, any song, any TV show, any movie, nothing trumps you, girl. I love you. I love you. I don't know if you can see that, but twinning. I love Sailor Moon, and so it was honestly the 10-year anniversary of me reading it for the first time. I was 14 when I read it, and I didn't read it because of that. I read it because I was like, I want to read something, and I kind of don't want to read something super serious right now, so I'm gonna read Sailor Moon because that's fun. And I do this a lot with other books. Like I said, Pride and Prejudice, I reread that book a lot just because I know what's gonna happen. It's predictable, but I also still feel good because I'm reading. But also, I'm reading for fun. This is not serious. This is fun. Read books because you want to read books. Read manga because you want to read manga. Reading is truly for the fun of it. It is not about, how many books you read in a year. It doesn't matter if you read one book. It doesn't matter if all you read is manga, okay? It doesn't matter if all you read is comic books. Like, none of that matters. This judging of other people, truly needs to stop. I know it's in human nature to do so, but it's just gotten so far that it's just pushing people away from the hobby. Which, by the way, in my personal opinion, hobbies are not something that you should really be working at like a job. It should be something you do for fun and for leisure time. And leisure time does not mean that you need to do something productive like you might think reading is. Leisure time can be staring at a wall. There's a great video I watched the other day by Mina Lay. I'll see if I can link it down in the description below, but talks all about that topic better than I could. I'm just saying, read for fun, okay? So in conclusion, read for you. Read because reading is something fun to do. You like my rhyme? That was pathetic, I'm sorry. And here are just a few more tips that I don't really need to go too in depth with. A sentence is just fine. There's no shame in DNFing a book. There isn't. DNFing just means do not finish or did not finish. If someone is judging you based on what you read, ignore that person. They're not worth your time or energy anyways. Don't read if you don't feel like it. No reading goal is more important than your mental health. And I'm not trying to yuck anybody's yum, like I've said earlier. I'm not trying to, dog on any people. If you really like to buy 30 versions of the same book because that makes you happy, then that's what makes you happy. And you do that. And I'm all for it, girl. Have your beautiful shelf because these shelves are beautiful. I do not have a beautiful shelf. I have totes. I have boxes of books. But I'm not trying to yuck anybody's yum. Like I said, do what you want. I'm just trying to give some tips and just give my opinion on here. And just for reference, this is my beloved copy of Pride and Prejudice. Doesn't have the prettiest cover, mind you. Just has peacocks, which I have no clue what that has to do with Pride and Prejudice, but I love her anyways. So good. Because the cover is not what matters. It's the words and the story inside. So as I leave you with that, I hope you all have a really great day. Thank you for listening to me just yap about what I've been thinking about lately. And I hope I see you in the next one. Bye for now.